Armaments have been a massive mechanic and a massive part of Rise of Kingdoms for over 2 years now. And I am going to go through. Now, yesterday I did the Armaments for beginners. Now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty because we're going to talk about Delta. Our boy Davor has cooked up his whole system. We'll talk about that. And we will get you set for how to run your Delta, what inscriptions are better than others. And we'll go through all the tier lists of all the different slots right here. Hey everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chatsky. I do these videos all the time and I love doing guides. I love doing tier lists and I love being able to help you become a better player in Rise of Kingdoms. If you enjoy these videos, please throw a thumbs up on them, give it a like. If you're not subscribed, consider doing so. Does not cost you a thing. You can be part of the legion of people we've got as subscribers. And if you want to get alerts when I put out content like that, like this, you can hit that bell. Well, this is going to be kind of a, I don't want to say a long-winded video, but we're going to go through this stuff and we're going to kind of figure this out. These are your armaments. I'm in the codex right now. We're going to talk about Delta first. I'm going to do this for every formation, but Delta is where we'll start. We have new commanders in the game and we needed to find out how all these different inscriptions compare with one another when we're actually applying them to our cavalry commanders and the Delta formation. Okay, it enhances combo. That's the new damage that they put into the game. Oh, I guess about a year ago when Arthur came out. So now we've got a bunch of commanders that do combo and we need to go through all these. But before we do, we got to give our boy Davor a shout out. Okay, Davor has cooked this up. Now I've got an early look at it and I'm going to show it to you and he'll eventually release it to the public, but this is his inscription list tool. Okay, it is phenomenal. All right, just like any other tool he's got, he does a really good job with this thing and he put it together. He's like, Chatsky, I think we're working on this thing and I think I've got a good idea on how to do this. So these are basically the numbers he put together. When you come into the interface, this is actually done through pairings. He's got this broken up by pairings because different commanders, even though they might be the same type of commander, they might be the same as far as combo or smite or skill damage, but they're different commanders. So some of the different inscriptions have different weights of points to them. And so from there, you can come in here and pick whichever commanders you want. You can also do whichever slot you want to do. So I use this and then I added my own feel to it. Okay, there's some maybe intangibles, but there's also some variables that I hold more weight than maybe Davor does. Davor goes off straight math and how this thing works, and it's a great tool to use. So I was able to use this and go through it all with all the different inscriptions that are for each slot and each formation. And so when I did that, it's really, really good. He's got it for full smite. He's got it as a mixed smite. He's got it for full skill damage, full combo, mixed combo. He's got all kind. He's got it for Chen specifically because Chen is so different when it comes to these things. And so it is a great tool to use. He'll have this released. Don't ask me for the link on it. We'll announce that later on for Davor when you guys are ready to go look at this for yourself. And so from that standpoint, let's come in here and let's look at this. Okay, we have Delta. All right, this is what we're going to work on. We've got these new commanders in the game, and Arthur is one, Gang is another. Of course, we've got, where's our boy Achilles? Okay, we've also got Attila. Now, this isn't for rallies. This is going to be a tier list of each slot when it comes to the field. We've also got a Hector, okay? And so I basically dumbed this down. Like, Davor goes really in depth per march, but I basically dumbed it down and said, okay, here's what's going to be most important. So let's pull this thing up. This is for the scroll slot, okay? And I've got it listed as S+, S, A, B, C, and D do not use. And so from there, when we look at this, let's go through it a little bit here. All right, Thrasher, first and foremost, is in the S+ category. Thrasher, incredibly powerful for the Delta formation in the scroll slot. This is the slot that we get in KVK, right? When you win KVK, you get an autarch. You can come get the Delta formation special inscription for the scroll slot. And the reason why this is really, really important is because Thrasher does crazy stuff, right? When we've got Thrasher, you're going to gain a 3.5% boost to combo attack damage dealt. That's massive. Whenever their troop launches a combo attack damage, you got a 1.5% bonus to combo attack dealt for 10 seconds. This stacks up to 5 times. This stacks very, very quickly. Okay, because especially for Arthur does instant proc combo damage, and so this stacks up very, very fast. So you're adding a whole bunch of combo, 7.5% bonus, and then you've got a 3.5% boost on top of that. It's exceptional. Now, when you come into the codex, we'll look at the other, that is the rare inscription before I go back to the tier list. It's Pummeler, okay? It's got a whole different component to it because you have an 80% chance, okay, to gain a 10% bonus attack, bonus combo attack damage dealt for 2 seconds, okay? And that's when you launch a combo attack. So in situations to where you're running Gang Gang and Achilles, and Gang Gang fires his combo damage on his active skill, then for 2 seconds, you've got Achilles getting a 10% bonus to combo attack damage dealt. Pummeler, very, very important and very, very good. So when you come back down to this, Pummeler, not quite as good, obviously, as Thrasher, but it's in the S category, and it's in the S category by itself. You can see I've got my little guys down here to help me divide up this thing. And from here, this is where I'll go into the level of importance, because there's going to be a whole bunch of inscriptions in the A category. Okay, we're going to put up Bellicose and Ward. Okay, these are 2 inscriptions that are really, really potent. Let me kind of go through it real quick with you so you understand. First of all, Ward. Anytime you use an active skill, your troops take 5% less damage for 3 seconds, a cooldown of 5 seconds. Well, when you amortize this thing out, that is a really good, like it's over 2.5% less damage total per second on average. Okay, Bellicose kind of has the same kind of effect. All right, now this is off of a basic attack, which is really, really good for combo commanders. You get a 10% chance to gain a 5% bonus to damage dealt for 3 seconds. Okay, so it's like the same as the a situation as Ward as far as being able to get a 3-second buff, but the cooldown's 5 seconds. Overall, though, with how much you ramp up the butterfly and the different things that combo does to make it more likely to increase that 10% of chance to gain a 5% bonus to damage dealt, that goes way up, especially when you're doing a bunch of combo attacks. Okay, so that's why those 2 are at the top of the list in the A category for the scroll slot. Okay, so let's come through this and we'll look. I put Robust above Onslaught. Okay, Robust to me is 3.5% health. Onslaught is 1.5% normal damage. Now, Onslaught is like all damage. It's like 1.5% all damage. All right. Now, I think at Davor, he's got that by the math a little bit more effective than 3.5% Robust, but I don't look at it that way. I would rather take the health than the 1.5% normal damage, which for combo commanders translates into all damage. Okay, then you've got my favorite for Attila is Pulverize, which is absolutely wonderful. Now this is one of those kind of situations, and let me get the tier list here. I'll kind of shrink this thing down so we're all in on it. All right, so Pulverize is there with the A tier, and the reason why, and I'll come through and show you the reason why Pulverize, I've absolutely loved it. It's good for combo commanders, especially a commander like Arthur. Okay, now you get a 10% chance to gain 20% bonus to all types of normal damage dealt for 1 second. Okay, now the reason why this is important is because this works off basic attacks, so this can fire off. You got to get lucky for it to fire off on the big combo damage of the active skills. However, Arthur is firing off combo attacks all the time. So is Hector. That's why an Arthur Hector March with Pulverize is actually really, really good, because you're firing off instant proc combo attacks all the time. And to try to get that 20% bonus to normal damage during those combo attacks is really good. Plus, it's normal damage, so for that 1 second, you're going to kick out a lot of damage if you're being swarmed, and Pulverize works out really, really well. I love it for Attila. Absolutely love it for Attila. But it's not going to quite be ranked as high in the open field. So we've got it right here in the A category. To go along with this, we're going to put up Iron Wall. Okay, Iron Wall comes up here. That's damage mitigation. We're going to have Well Clad after that, and Breaker. Okay, Iron Wall is really pretty simple here. Iron Wall, where is this thing at? Oh, getting taxed. Raven's taxing us. Okay, Iron Wall has got a 1.5% less normal damage of all types taken. I rank that Honestly, I rank that ahead of the 3.5% defense that you get, and I also rank it ahead of Breaker, even though I love Breaker. Absolutely love Breaker. This is like a kind of like a Moore's Web, especially on combo. You get this thing to fire off a lot, and for 3 seconds, you're going to put a debuff of 15% defense on the target. And so that is why I really like Breaker. That's why I have those ranked pretty high. You guys know me when it comes to defense for cavalry, just because the equipment and the gear is so high in health, I love ranking the defense high. Well Clad is 3.5% defense, sits right behind Iron Wall, sits right ahead of Breaker. They're all really, really good. Okay, but this is the current order that is of importance here. And how we're ranking these things. From there, Warcry give us 3.5% attack. Before they changed the crystal tech to where now we have defense and health in our crystal tech and SOC KVKs, this would have been ranked down here or down here, probably here. But now that attack is actually better than it used to be, it gets ranked in the A category. And then finally, I've got Valiant. Okay, we're going to put Valiant there. Let me kind of go ahead and look at this here so everybody understands what Valiant is all about when you look at the scroll slot for Delta, okay? Valiant is going to just deal 1% extra damage, all right? I will take 3.5% attack over 1% extra damage, okay? And so that's how I rank those two when it comes to the A-list, and that's it for the A-list. So from there, let's go into this and look at what's next. We'll scroll down here. We'll pick up Calm. We're into the B list. Calm has always been pretty good. It gives you a situation where you can proc a buff or a debuff. I'll go into those just in a second. Calm, Hurried, and Retaliation there. So let me look at this. When you look at Calm, I've always liked Calm. I always have a bunch of these. And you have a 30% chance to gain a 10% attack bonus for 3 seconds. Okay, that's pretty good. Nothing crazy. I think over time, that averages out to be about, what is it? Oh gosh, 2.5%, 3% attack, somewhere around there. And so it's actually pretty good to have, okay? As we had talked about, we've got Hurried and Retaliation. We come in here with the Hurried. Let me see, where is this at? There it is. I value March speed, not necessarily for calves. You're going to see that a lot of them Swift and a lot of the other March speed things for calves really don't matter much in the Delta because you already have so much March speed. However, when you're trying to leave battle, that's where you need the March speed. That is the best time to get it. Your calves are going to get focused a little bit. So if you get an extra bonus to March speed for 10 full seconds after leaving battle, that is really good. And that's why I have Hurried in the B category, okay? Now we're going to get on to this thing and we're going to go down into the C category. We talked about Swift. I'm not a huge fan of that. That's just generic March speed. Calves don't need it. We've got Furious and Loosed, okay? Furious is okay for Delta, but Furious really packs a punch when it comes to the skill damage, okay? Because it does an 8% bonus to all types of skill damage. But it also gives you a 3% bonus to counterattack for 3 seconds. So there is a little bit of a counterattack here. That's why it's not completely in the do not use category. It is not completely awful when it comes to that. And then Loosed is kind of in the same situation. I know it's weird, but Loosed is a B formation inscription, but it does give you 1% less normal damage taken, okay? Which does give it a little bit of value, but nothing too crazy. That's why we've got it in the C category. All right, so let's come down here. Payback, Enrage, Phalanx, and Tremors. Do not use these. They don't do much of anything for Delta and Cavalry. They don't do much of anything at all. So don't even mess with this. You stick with the ones in the A tier if you can get them. You stick, obviously, Thrasher at S+, Pummeler at S. The A tier ones are great. The B tier ones have some good use out of them. And then the C tier that's what you use if you don't have anything else. And then never use the D tier. They don't really do much for you. Payback, Enrage, Phalanx, and Tremors. We can even go through those and kind of give you guys a quick look at that because we won't have to go through it with the other slots because you'll already know. But Payback, here you go. Barbarians, okay? Tremors, here you go. This is one of those those things where you deal direct damage to all targets at a damage factor of 100. Okay, you can kind of use trimmers. It can be better. In fact, that's what I'm going to do here because I do like a little bit of that with your combo. I'm going to put trimmers up here to the C category because that is relatively useful. So that's where we're going to go with that. And then some of the other ones that we look at here with Enraged and Phalanx, those are some of the things that we've got to kind of consider here. 2.5% more skill damage, 1% counterattack, not much, not even worth using. And so that is what we've got. Okay, so here it is. This is your tier list for the scroll slot. Let me just grab this thing real quick and I'll put this thing up. There we go. That get a picture of this thing. That's how we're going to use it. That's the best way to use it. And this will be how you do your scroll slot for Delta. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. What are we looking at? We're looking at the instrument slot. Okay, well, here's the instrument slot. And this is where this thing's going to work out. All right, this is what people have to understand. The instrument slot is really, really interesting because there are kind of two factions to this, and I'll explain this in a few. When it comes to the Delta, you have Butterfly and Causative, and they're going to be in the S category. There is nothing in the S plus category, and I know you guys are thinking to yourself, oh my God, Chatsky, you told us that Butterfly is amazing, and it is. It is absolutely amazing when it comes to an Arthur Phillip March or a Gang with Achilles March. Butterfly is off the charts, really, really good. Okay, but for an Arthur Achilles March, it is about a little bit better than Causative, obviously, but not to that S plus tier. Okay, but I always tell players all the time, if you're looking at what the value is for Cavalry and Delta, Butterfly is very, very potent, very, very powerful. I'm gonna leave it in the S plus category with Causative by itself in the S category, because what Butterfly does, and this is what people already know about Butterfly, it's what I've told you guys about it, this 3.5% boost to combo damage dealt is great. And then you're 20% more likely to trigger effects triggered by launching a basic attack. Those are effects that really are enhanced with your skills, with the other inscriptions you have, and with tier 5 equipment. You want to enhance those basic attack procs more often. Butterfly does that. Causative is basically a dumbed down version of it. But since it's so effective, it still has a lot of merit. So Causative is great. And I always tell players, if you have Causative, go with it. You're good to go for your Arthur March, your Gang Achilles March, however you want to run that, okay? And so once we have that out of the way, we're going to get into the A category. We're going to put Fit. I put that at the very top. Again, War Hunger is 1.5% normal damage dealt, and I value the 3.5% health over that. Okay, then you've got Armor. That's the 3.5% defense. Then I upgrade Uplifting. I love Uplifting. Always have, always will. Okay, Uplifting is one of those, especially for rallies and garrisons. It's great. Like a buddy of mine, Maximus, who has one of the best infantry garrisons in the game. He's got Uplifting on the pincer instrument slot, but he's got it as a double with the special inscription for pincer. It's wild. It is crazy. But basically, every 10 seconds after starting battle, your troop is going to gain 1% bonus to normal damage, up to 5%. Great for rallies and garrisons. In the field, not quite as effective, but on average, you're going to spend time engaged in combat for like 30 seconds. You got to remember this. It's not just hitting a target for 30 seconds. It's also going back and forth, keeping your march in combat. Even if you're not hitting anything, this thing ramps up every 10 seconds. So you can get this to 2 and 3 and 4%, no problem. And back and forth fighting and murder ball fighting, it's not a problem. That's why I value it a little bit higher than maybe like a Davor does, where he just goes strictly based off of the math. And it's really good how he does it. I just like it better, and I value it pretty high. And so from there, we've got a few other things here. Let me see. We've got Respite is going to be a good one. And then we've also got Brutal, which is a 3.5% attack. I like Respite. Respite also gives, I believe Respite is going to give us, where is that thing at? There it is. It's going to give us that damage, the 10% less damage taken for 2 seconds, which is always really, really good. So there's a damage mitigation factor going on there. I think that averages out to be about 1.5% less damage, which is going to put it in the A category. All right. And so that's where we put Respite. and that's where we have brutal. Okay, now we're going to get on to our B category. All right, that's evasive, guarded, embattled, primed. We're going to do these. All right, and we'll go through some of these as well. Evasive. Let me see. Where is my man evasive? Okay, 2.5% less counterattack. You take 2.5% less counterattack damages of all types. That's okay. It's not great. It's not A category, but it works out just fine. All right. And so you've also got guarded and embattled, which we talked about. Guarded is going to do the 10% chance to reduce the damage by 20% whenever you take any kind of skill damage. That fires off not as much as you think, because it's not tied to basic attack. It's tied to whenever you take skill damage. Well, honestly, if you're in the field against Chen, you're taking skill damage like all the time. So this does have some viability with it, and it does work out okay as far as the value of it at a B level. All right. The other one that we talked about was embattled and primed. Okay, where is my embattled? It's around here somewhere. Is that it? There it is. Okay, troops take any type of skill damage, you have a 10% chance to gain 50 rage. Okay, that's a little bit of a buff. That's really nice. You have a 5% cooldown, but at the same time, it rarely fires off. All right, and so from there, we've also got primed. You got a 5% bonus to march speed when you have over 50% troops. I think that's B level. You really don't need the march speed, but if you're trying to get away and you still have a lot of troops left in your, march, you get away obviously a little bit faster in fleeing. And then we have alert. Alert will be the last one that we have in the B category. And alert is just 2.5% more counterattack damage of all types. It's not A category. It's not S category. Definitely not S plus, but does have some viability. So that's where we put alert in the B category. And so from there, we'll get on to a few in the C category. We've got fearsome, requital, spirited, and bluster. Okay, fearsome and requital are two really good ones. Let me kind of show you here. And I say good ones. I mean, requital is going to be a damage factor over a 2-second period on the target, which is okay. Nothing crazy. All right, and we had talked about it before when it comes to things like that. And bluster, where's that at? Same type of deal. You do a AOE damage factor of 100, not a huge damage factor, but you have a chance to, whenever you inflicted with the control effect, that doesn't happen that often. That's why bluster is not rated so extremely high when it comes to this. Now, on top of that, we've got fearsome, which is at the top end of the B category. Okay, and fearsome gives you just 1% extra damage. Nothing crazy, 1% extra damage. And then we have spirited. All right, this isn't awful, because with Arthur, and especially with like Arthur and Hector that fire off instant proc combo damage, you can literally fire that off when you're over 70% rage. But overall, the spirited situation is not good. It's not good. It looks good because you think you're getting 5% extra damage when you're over 70% rage, but when you fire your active skill, just a little PSA for everybody, when you fire off your active skill, your rage is 0%. It is not 100%. So you do not get the benefit of the damage for your active skill. Okay, and so that lines out our B categories, or our C category, I should say. So now we're going to look at the D category. Just do not use vengeful, patronage. The D category will be okay. I'm going to put the fine horse, the vengeful, and the patronage into the C category. Actually, I'm going to put patronage down here, devious, and annexer. All right. Vengeful gives you a little bit of a bonus to rage. It's 2 points for every 10% of troops that you lose, but it's nothing crazy. Okay. Fine horse, same thing. You get a little bit of march speed, but honestly, cavalry doesn't need it. You can even put fine horse down here. We talked about patronage, and devious doesn't do anything really. Devious has 1% counterattack damage. It's a skill damage type of inscription. You don't need it for delta. And then annexer, there you go. There is your situation to where you have barbarians for your inscription. You don't use that in the field, obviously. So let's see, can we have a good shot of this? This will be your instrument tier list when it comes to the inscriptions and what works and what doesn't work for Delta. Okay, so now let's move over to the Emblem. Oh my gosh, Emblem is like my favorite. All right, so here we go for Emblem. All right, first of all, Flurry S plus, baby. we're rocking and rolling with Flurry, and then you've got Relentless at S. Okay, let me go through those real quick because Flurry is very, very important. All right, in the emblem slot of just about any of the formations, the emblem slot special inscription is always going to boost the type of damage. You get an 8% boost to combo attack damage dealt. Okay, and it's really, really good. All right, especially when you're loading up so much combo damage bonuses from the commanders and so much combo damage bonuses from inscriptions, you just boost it all. It's great. Okay, Relentless is there as well. You have a 3.5% boost to the combo damage dealt. Pretty simple. Those are two easy stat sticks when it comes to boosting the combo damage you deal. From there, this is where it gets interesting. I put Smite up here as the A category. Smite is almost here, but not quite. Smite gives you 2% normal damage dealt. That's like 2% all damage, okay? Now, 1.5% all damage, I'm like Militant, I like, but I don't think that's as good as a 3.5% health, but 2% definitely. And you'll see that with Assertive in the next slot, okay? But Hardy, the 3.5% health I put here, 1.5% normal damage I put here, and then you get into Rapacious, and then you get into Shielded, okay? Watchmen and Infamy, all right? Of course, we know Rapacious. We'll go through here and look at this. Rapacious is really, really good. It is one of those things that we like to use with 1.5% extra damage. That is fantastic, okay? And when I've got it ranked, that actually outdoes Shielded. Shielded's got the 3.5% defense, which is great for cavalry. We like that a whole lot. Then you've got Watchmen and Infamy, okay? And that's all that you've got left in the A category. Watchmen, of course, 1.5% less damage that you take, all right? I put that behind the 3.5% defense. All right, but from there, you've got Infamy. Infamy is going to be the 3.5% attack. That's all going to be in the A category. All right, let's move down to the B category when it comes to the emblem slot for our Delta. I've got Enduring. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. Enduring, Evasive's another one that we've got. Let me see here. We'll pull this up, and we got Elite, and let's see, is that what we're doing? I think those three is what we're doing. And then we've got Line Shot and Guardians, okay? And this all makes sense. All right, so when we look at Enduring and Invasive, we've already talked about a little bit in the other ones, all right? But just a real quick refresher, here's Evasive, 1% less damage, which is pretty good. Enduring, of course, has got 3.5%, or you're gonna deal 3% more counterattack damage of all types. Really good. You can put that in the B category and not even make a fuss about it. No problem. You've also got Elite and Line Shot. Okay, Elite's a little bit different. It does just give you 1% extra damage. All right. Then you've got Line Shot, and the reason why Line Shot is there, it's a V formation deal. Okay, but you're gonna deal 1% more normal damage of all types. So it's just the same as Elite, because normal damage is all damage, okay, for combo commanders. So that's why Line Shot sits in there as well. And then we've also got Guardians sitting there at that B level, and so Guardians gives you 2% less normal damage of all types. I don't rank this super high because you're getting hit with a lot of different things like skill damage and other things, but it does have some serviceability. If you really wanted to think about it, you could probably do some things here and put Guardians kind of at the very top of this. I don't do that. It's at the bottom of the B side of things, and that's where we're at. Okay, for the C category, Counterer, Resistant, Deflector, and Artisan. Okay, and really from these different inscriptions, let me go through here. We'll look at Counterer. All right, this is actually really good for the rallies and garrisons. 3% less counterattack damage of all types. You take 3% less. All right, but when a bunch of people are hitting you, you're not taking any counterattack damage except for the target you're hitting. So it's not like super good when it comes to the field, all right? Resistant is also another one. Where is my Resistant at? It's 2.5% more counterattack damage, which is okay, not amazing, but it works out okay. We've also got Deflector here. Deflector, where's that one at? There it is, bottom left. 3% less skill damage taken of all types. Deflector, back in my old tier list of Delta, Deflector guys used to be like up here. All right, but it's not anymore. And the reason why is because not a lot of people are using skill damage nowadays. All right, your Ragnars, your Huos, those types of marches are going to be fewer and fewer and far between. Okay, Chen is still really the only one that does it, along with your archers. So Deflector doesn't quite get the kind of value that it used to. And then you have Artisan. Okay, Artisan for skill damage is incredible. All right, 3% more skill damage. That doesn't do anything for our combo marches, but you do get 1.5% of counterattack damage. So it does have a little bit of value, but nothing crazy. And then down in the do not use category, haste, I don't care about march speed, it's calves. Pacifier, I don't care about barbarians. And daring, 2.5% skill damage, I don't care. I don't care about that. So take a photo. This is your tier list when it comes to the emblem slot for Delta. This is what you want to do and how you want to prioritize. So be sure you keep this and have this. I can scroll this up just a little bit. There you go. Take a nice, neat photo. Okay. Well, last but not least, we're going to talk about the flag slot. Okay. This is the slot that we get in the courier shop. When you do 8 shards and you've recycled a whole bunch of armaments, you ratchet that up and you can get in the courier shop. Okay. First and foremost, when it comes to this, there is one thing that is great, and that's steel skin. That is the only thing in the S plus or the S category, and I'll explain that. Don't freak out. But steel skin, fantastic. It's a 2% damage resistance. That's like a damage boost when you're doing damage. Resistance is wonderful, all right? And then whenever you launch a combo attack, it takes 1.5% less damage for the next 10 seconds. This stacks up to 5 times. Steel skin is like the damage mitigation version of Thrasher, all right? It's fantastic. So good. I love steel skin. It's one of the best flag slots you can get for any of the other flag special inscriptions from the courier shop. This is like one of the best ones you can get. It is great. It's potent. It definitely helps you out. And so that's at the S plus category. There is no S category here. Okay. And because determined is not ranked very high. We've got assertive, strategic, and determined. All right. We will go through those 3 real quick. All right. Because assertive is absolutely wonderful. Now, I had smite up there really, really high because I had 2% normal damage, which is like 2% all damage. Well, assertive's 2% all damage. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. All right. Strategic has 2% extra damage to surrounded troops. Okay. So it's like all damage, but the troops have to be surrounded. Well, guess what? When you're in the field and you're hitting a target, all your marches are hitting the target. It's always going to be surrounded. And so that's why strategic is almost as good as assertive, because just about all the time you're going to get that 2% damage bonus, okay? Then you've got determined. All right. This is just a straight 1.5% damage resistance. It's not crazy. Okay. If this was like 2 or 2.5%, we could maybe push it up to the S category, but 1.5% damage resistance, that's better than 1.5% less damage because it's a resistance, but it's still not good enough to rank super high on the tier list. So that will be in the A category. All right. Then I put vitality, 3.5% health there. I've got striker, I've got cohesive, and then I've got metallics. Okay. Let's look at that real quick because we all know about vitality, 3.5% health, and that is pretty good. But striker and cohesive, all right, when we go to striker, really pretty good. It's 1.5% normal damage. I'm going to put that just behind the health. Okay. And then I've got the metallics, which of course is 3.5% defense. And then I've got cohesive, which is you do 2% extra damage when you have over 50% units remaining, which is pretty good. It's not bad, but a lot of times you get into fights and you're going to be fighting and you're going to get below 50%. You lose that damage bonus, but it's still good enough to be able to put it in the A category. So that's what we're sitting on in the A category. And then we've got Spike, 3.5% attack, and then War Flames is 1% extra damage. Okay. And so from there, we go on to the B side of things. Pursuer, Brave, Rebuff, and Eclipsed. Okay. So let's go through this real quick because we'll go through Pursuer first. All right. I like Pursuer. I've always liked it. Okay. But it's not going to be ranked super, super high. All right. From this, you get 2% extra damage to troops that are under 20% units remaining. Now, for a rally or garrison, that's wonderful because the march of the garrison or the rally captain that you're hitting is going to fall below 20% units remaining, and it's going to fall pretty quickly. But in the field, you're just, I mean, it's like Ant Crusher. For those of you playing stratagems, you use that Ant Crusher skill and you really punish marches under 20% units remaining, but you're not going to hit them for very long because they're going to die really, really fast. And that's one of the things that we have to look out for. Now, we also have Brave in this category of the B category. I love Brave. I love it. I love to have a double inscription of Brave with my Invincible on my Arch Attila counter rallies and stuff, because you're going to kick out 5% more counterattack damage when you are surrounded. But if you're in the field, not necessarily amazing. It's pretty good, but it's not something that you would go put into the A category. Okay. Then we've got Rebuff and Eclipse for this B category. Let me see. Where is Rebuff? Here it is. 2.5% more attack damage, counterattack damage of all types. That's pretty good. And then let's see, Rebuff and then Eclipsed. All right, Eclipse is the last one that we have. Where is Eclipsed? Is it around here? There it is. Eclipse, you're going to take 2.5% less skill damage of all type. All right, we talked about this. If this was old school where we had no combo and smite damage going on, Eclipse would be way up here. It would be so far up here, it wouldn't even be funny. It'd easily be in the A category. But since you don't have that many marches that do skill damage anymore, it stays in the B category. Then we come down to the C category. We've got Ballistics, Desperado, Wary, and Galloping. Okay, I don't put the march speed too high. It does give some benefit, but nothing too high. Ballistics, we'll talk about that in Desperado. As you can see here, I like Desperado, but I like it for garrisons and rallies, okay? Because you're going to take 2% less damage when you have under 50% units remaining. So it's kind of like the opposite of, what was it, Striker? I can't remember. Striker, Cohesive, I can't remember which one it was. Yeah, here it is. It's the opposite of Cohesive. Well, the only difference is you spend a lot more time at over 50% than you do at under 50%, okay? So there's your Desperado, and that's how that works. Now, Ballistics was the other one. Where is that? Let's see, bottom left, it's a V formation one, but you do get 1.5% more counterattack damage of all types. So there is a little bit of serviceability, but that's about it. Okay. So when you come back over here and look at this, Wary and Galloping, they are march speed. Don't like it. Okay. Siege work, Brawler, Sentries, and Cleanser. Okay, first of all, Cleansers for barbarians, Sentries and Siege work are for rallies and garrisons, and Brawler is skill damage. Don't use any of those on your flag slot for your Delta marches. So that is your situation. That's how it's set up. Assertive, the next best thing outside of Steel Skin you can use for that flag spot. And I'm sorry for those of you guys who have Determined. You might want to think about moving Determined to another one of the slots that you can do for maybe pincer or maybe even skill damage. Look at those rare inscriptions there, because Determined, if you have Assertive and have Strategic and have Vitality, you might as well just use those. Okay, so that's where you're at on the flag slot. So with everything being said, I know that's long-winded, but here's what we've got for the scroll. Okay, we talked about that. Here's what we've got for the instrument. We've talked about that. Here's what we've got for the emblem, my favorite slot with Flurry, Relentless, love that. And then here's what we've got for the flag slot, and there's your setup there. So that is your tier list for combo. I don't want to hear about it anymore. You guys ask all the time about the armaments. We also talked a little bit about this when it came to Davor. He's going to be releasing this thing, and when he releases it, I'm just telling you, man, it's going to be pretty special when this guy puts this thing out here, because this is great. So look for this. He'll eventually have it out here. He goes based off of math. Now, some of his tier lists are different than mine, but it's really, really good to see. So you can apply this stuff. So be on the lookout for that. If you enjoyed this video, throw a thumbs up on here, give it a like. Apologies, it was long-winded, but this is one of those videos you have to do, and you have to go through it and be very comprehensive with it. And I'm going to do pincer, I'm going to do wedge. I'm going to do arch. I'm going to do them all. That's going to set everybody up to do this armament guide for your tier list and what works with your inscription. So if you enjoyed the video, throw a thumbs up on it, give it a like. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Be sure to join my Discord. The link is down in the description. If you have any questions, go to my Discord or throw your comments down there, guys. I'm down there all the time answering questions. So with all that, y'all have a great day, broskies.